Welcome back. We have another question that we were able to get answered from an expert in the field on political division. Today, we're asking a question with Dr. Stacey Maples, a licensed psychologist with 20 years of practice. We were able to ask Dr. Maples this one question. She writes a lot in psychology today. One question with Dr. Stacey Maples, licensed psychologist with 20 years of practice. Stacey Maples, formerly Stacey Willis Center, graduated summa cum laude with honors and distinctions in psychology from Southwest Missouri State University in 92, and she was awarded the Outstanding Psychology Student at SMSU in 1992. Dr. Maples was a doctoral student at the University of Arkansas from 92 to 99. She received her master's degree in clinical psychology from 96 and her doctorate in 99. Her doctoral dissertation was Victimization, Trauma Symptoms, and the Role of the Criminal Justice System. We talked or were interested in the doctor because of this article she wrote, How to Understand the Social Psychology of the Big Sort. If Americans continue to self-homogenize, we all lose. Remember, we told you about the big sort. That's Americans sorting themselves out into politically ideological communities since the 1990s over the last 30 years. Now we're looking at a professional psychologist trying to explain why are Americans sorting themselves out. Remember, right now, we're having trouble getting people to even recognize the big sort is happening. Here's a doctor who recognizes the big sort is happening and is already moving on to trying to understand the psychology of it. That's exceptionally rare today. We've looked at a lot of studies. There's very few looking at the psychology of this. Most of them are just documenting that it even exists and is happening, the big sort. So this is a little bit from the article. According to the author, Bill Bishop, this is the untold story of why America is so culturally and politically divided. America may be more diverse than ever coast to coast, but the places where we live are becoming increasingly crowded with people who live, think, and vote like we do. This social transformation didn't happen by accident. We built a country where we can all choose the neighbors and church and news show most compatible with our lifestyle and beliefs. And we are living with the consequences of this way of life segregation. Our country has become so polarized, so ideologically inbred, that people don't know and can't understand those who live just a few miles away. This is one of the psychology concepts she says is involved in this. So Irving Janis was the first psychologist to talk about groupthink. This was introduced in November 1971 in an issue of Psychology Today. He had been conducting research about group decision-making in stressful conditions. Since then, Janis and other researchers have found that in a situation that can be characterized as groupthink, individuals tend to refrain from expressing doubts and judgments and disagreeing with the consensus. In the interest of making a decision that furthers their group cause, members may also ignore ethical or moral consequences. While it is often invoked at the level of geopolitics or within business organizations, groupthink can also refer to subtler processes of social or ideological conformity, like I'm a MAGA or I'm a Democrat, such as participating in bullying or rationalizing a poor decision being made by one's friends. Hey, let's go to January 6th and overthrow the government. Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, Bob. If we should do that. Shut up, Bob. Oh, you guys are right. I'll do what you say. That's what she's talking about. And this was the conclusion at the end of the article. Americans are sorting themselves into groups of like-minded people, which effectively means that instead of Americans, we have right or left and or Democrats or Republicans. This already makes the overarching average split so that we have two different norms, each that are strikingly left or right of the middle. And in the known effects of groupthink and social psychology theories and isolate each group that they no longer listen to each other. As each group is affected by confirmation bias and each individual within that group is seeking to be valued, the groups are in essence moving away from each other ideologically with no end in sight. As they move further to the left or right, the norms also shift, which means the social phenomena I discussed push them even further. This is key. Look at point 6. Where does this end? I'm serious. I'm a psychologist, not a strategist. Does anyone have any ideas here? Because this is not a good path to be on. People are sorting themselves into different communities, and they're engaging in groupthink, where contrary ideas don't come into the group. They never hear contrary ideas, and they only reinforce their original thinking of ideas, which makes us more and more divergent. Remember, we talked about the big sort and how it was making red communities hardcore red and blue communities hardcore blue. That's what the doctor's talking about. She's a clinical psychologist, 20 years experience. And she's saying, this is not a good path to be on. Does anyone have any ideas here? AKA, I don't know how we fix this. I have no ideas how we fix this. It's super horrible. And this does not look like a good place for America. That's what the doctor's saying in this article here. Dr. Stacey Maples. This is not a good path to be on. Does anyone have any ideas here? So, I only wanted to ask you one question. Do you see any hope that in the future, Americans will return to the belief that we have to respect each other's opinions? So, do you think in the future, doctor, there's any reason to believe that Americans will begin to come back together and talk to each other and share in dialogue? Basically, the opposite of what you're saying is going on now. And this was her response. I think there is always hope, but hope isn't enough. We need some serious healing, and to recognize the power of talking and weighing in on different points of view rather than disagreeing and being angered that someone else doesn't believe exactly what we do. We need some serious healing, says the psychologist. It's not okay. We don't need just a little bit of healing. We need serious healing. In a way, this is like marriages. Sometimes there is a couple that is on the brink of divorce, but still there is something that suddenly can cause one to pause and say, what was that again? And then they are listening instead of attacking and asking instead of arguing. So it's all, at least in my opinion, about finding creative solutions to problems. Remember, she also said, I don't know how to fix this. But she's also saying the solution is a creative problem that she hasn't been able to figure out by her own words. And recognizing that what you get doesn't take away from what I get, and that taking things from you doesn't give me anything. These are not win-win solutions. People, for instance, have been so divided on topics in the last several years, and it is divisive. So the fact that people are so emotionally divided is making things actually divisive. They can recognize that, for instance, someone saying Black Lives Matter shouldn't inherently mean that the person is saying white lives don't matter. It's not a competition. I liken this to recognizing that saying save the dolphins isn't applying kill the whales. It needs to be active. We all collectively matter. But at this moment in time, Americans are not listening or open. They, for the most part, are defensive and looking for ways to win a competitive approach to social decisions, and that isn't a way anyone wins. I do, however, still have hope. The day I lose hope, I'll be sorting myself elsewhere. Good luck on your views. I hope you can do something with this topic further. I'd like to listen in. So Americans at this moment are not listening to each other. It is divided right now. They have been this way for years. And because of that, it really is divisive. See, she chose to capitalize is. I didn't capitalize that. She capitalized is. And we need some serious healing, not just healing, but serious healing. And that is to fix this problem of how we're sorting ourselves into ideological communities and becoming even more groupthink affected. That's what the doctor said. So she hopes that it will get better. She has no idea how it's going to get better, says it looks bad, and says we definitely are not living together as a cohesive people and trying to work together to bring our divides to be shortened. That's not going on at all. And the clinical psychologist says, I don't know how you fix this problem. That was one of the questions we asked a lot of people. What is marriage counseling? How is marriage counseling going to fix this? Well, we talked to, here's the psychologist. I don't know how it fixes it. Another data point. We'll see you soon.